This video contains an actual fetal pig. If you're disturbed by that, you better click away.
Alright, lab number 1. We're going to talk about the outside of the pig.
Lab number 1.
So when you get your little pig, you gotta start with this little ear flap. This is his pinna. It's the ear flap that will direct sound to the inner ear, which leads in about there. So the whole thing is the pinna that leads sound to the inner ear. Pigs also have these external nares right here, which are these little nostrils you'll see on the front. And those will be used for scent and respiration. And they're just found on the nasal cavity right there. And then your pig has a little pig anus, which is the one right here under the tail. It's a little hole. It's the thing that'll be used for the digestive waste of your little pig. So when he eats, and then it goes out there. This is a male pig, so if we were to flip him over, I took him off his little post. You will see this little hole right here. This will be the male pig's penis, which will be used for his reproduction system, and it's his little thing for, reproduction. I'll get to the female pig later. Alright, so this is going to be the female part for lab 1. I stole my friend's female pig, so what we can see here for lab 1 is we can see the vaginal opening and the urethra opening, which the vaginal opening will, of course, receive the male's bit for copulation, while the urethra opening will also, release, fluid and stuff from the kidney and urine from the bladder. And in the males, that's obviously the penis. We went over that in the other part. And yeah, that's the female part. And that part also, I should mention, the other part for the female is also what leads to their reproductive system. Right here is what we see of the umbilical cord, which is these little things all connected right here. This is how the mama pig gets the nutrients and blood to the baby pig, this fella. And then where I can't find it, I don't think he has it, but he should have a little scrotum around here next to the penis, and the scrotum will be what holds his testicles for the pig. So the umbilical arteries are going to be these two small ones. Come on, focus. There's these two small holes right here that are connected, and those are the ones that are going to supply taking the deoxygenated blood from the pig and putting it back to the mom pig. Now right here, if we were to open up his little eyeball, right here on his eyeball, you can see he has a bit of a membrane. That'll be the nictitating membrane. And what that does is that it will form an inner eyelid and will protect it. So that's a good thing. It's good for the pig. Now, this pig has nipples. That's these little bumps right here. Come on, focus. All right, the pig's got nipples. Now, in the females, these will be what provide from the mammary gland. They'll duct, and that's how the milk gets to the baby pigs if it's, a mother pig or a female pig. But in a male, they're kind of useless. It's a vestigial structure, whatever it's called, something like that. It's not, it's just there. They're just kind of there. The pig will also have the urethra opening, which is how urine can get from the bladder out of the pig. And in the male pigs, that'll be just in from the penis, because there's two things that come out. And finally, we do have the umbilical vein. So right here at the tippy top, you'll see there's this little one that's a little bit thicker than the two arteries. This is big one. And this is what's going to take all the blood and the nutrients from the mom pig, and it's going to send it right here into ham hocks right here. All right, this is going to be part 2 of the piggy.
Lab number 2.
So this is going to be more focusing on his mouth region. To start off, when you open the pig's mouth, you're going to notice this. He's got a big old tongue. He's got a big old tongue, which is the organ or muscle that is used for tasting, licking, swallowing. It does a lot. It's pretty important in the mouth. This little ridge right here will be the piggy's hard palate, followed by the soft palate right behind here. I'm going to move my finger. It's this little soft, squishy part right here. This little squishy part right here behind the hard palate. It's right there. Soft palate. Inside that piggy's mouth, right here, we can see, where are they? Come on, feel them. They're there. This piggy's got these some sharp teeth right here. These will be his little incisors, so you can use those for his little good old biting, and they're designed for cutting, so that's when he's eating, he can use those for chomp, chomp, chomp. Way back in the piggy's mouth, I'm going to kind of just open it up real quick. You can see the esophageal opening, which is how it leads for food into that digestive tract. And also this little flap right here, I'm going to just kind of try to open it up. It opens up and closes right here on my finger. That'll be the epiglottis, which is a little flap of cartilage, so it covers the windpipe when you're swallowing, so you don't get a bunch of food in your lungs, because that's bad. And if you flip that open, again, the thing that opens and closes, you'll see is the glottis, which is what will lead to the windpipe and down into, the lungs, so he can breathe. Awesome. All right, this is going to be lab 3 for the fetal pig, Christopher Walken style.
Lab number 3.
When you first enter the digestive system, I'm going to stop doing the accent real quick. When you first enter the digestive system, you're going to see this little thing right here. There's this little tube right here that comes down through the diaphragm, past that, and ends up at the stomach right here. Oh, at the stomach. What could that be? Why, my dear friend, that's your esophagus. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna take all the food from the stomach that the pig has eaten, and it's gonna put it into the digestive system. You got from there, you're gonna have your stomach. Your stomach will be this little pouch right here. This is where your digestion is gonna take place. This is what's it's gonna mix, it's gonna break down your food, and then it's gonna, what's the stomach acid? It's gonna send it to the intestines. But more on the stomach is if we look inside it, let me look at this little fold I made. I made a little cut. The stomach's got folds in it. It's a little gross in there because, stomach juices. But it's got folds in it, and those folds are what we call the rugae. Now, they're ridges in a lot of organs, but in the stomach mostly. That can increase its internal surface and allow it to expand because it's folded, so it can expand and if it needs to. It's pretty cool. Then if we flip over the small intestine, let's flippy. Hi, Piggy. Where are you, my friend? Right here, coming from the stomach, there's going to be this little tube right here. This is going to be your duodenum. It's going to be the first part of your small intestine. And then from there, you're going to get to your small intestine, which is divided by the ileum towards the end. The end is going to be the part that goes to the large intestine. And the jejunum, which is the middle part. Now, obviously, the whole thing of the small intestine is going to be to absorb nutrients and water from the food and give that to the body of the pig. Pretty important, this is pretty important. Then we have the large intestine, and what that's going to do is it's going to reabsorb some more water from the poo, from the poo of the pig. It's going to absorb some of the water again used from the body, make it a bit more of a solid. And that is going to also be connected to the cecum, which will be this little pouch right here. It doesn't end anywhere. It's just a little pouch right here. And it, from my research, because it's like a pancreas, It's not though, but it can slow plant digestion in some animals, and it connects from the large intestine to the small from everything else. It's just what it is. It's just how it is. The large intestine is obviously going to connect down here to the rectum, which you can see is this tube, which will carry out through the animal and down to the butt. And but that's just your rectum, and that's going to ending at the anus to excrete his pig poo, and that's just how that's going to be. Right here along the stomach, we're going to go back a little bit. We can see the spleen. It's this little muscular thing. It's this little flap. And what the spleen's going to do is, as part of the immune system, it's going to remove some red blood cells that are old, dying, and they don't need to be used anymore. So it's important. This big thing right here you'll see is going to be the liver. This is a big thing. And the liver is going to excrete bile and regulate chemical levels, and then blood from the stomach and the intestines going to pass through the liver at some point. If we look right under here, under the stomach, we can also see what is known as the pancreas. Ignore all that. There's this white little kind of stone ground mustard looking thing right here. It looks kind of white, kind of cream colored, and it looks like chalk. And that right there is going to be your pancreas. That's your gland behind the stomach that also secrete enzymes into your duodenum, your beginning of the small intestine that we talked about earlier. Now all this is going to be held together by mesentery. Let's see if we could find some. Oh, right here. All these organs are held together by this thin membrane. That's your mesentery. It's going to attach to things, and it just holds them together. It's kind of important. Right under the liver, I should have gone over this when I went under the liver. We're going to find the gallbladder. You see, there's this little sac right here. And what that's going to do is that's going to store all the bile that the liver here wants to produce. And there we go. Finally, we do have the umbilical vein. That's going to how the mom's going to get, blood and nutrients from the placenta to the baby. So here in my pig, it would have connected here at the umbilical cord by this, which would be the umbilical vein that attaches right up here. And there it is. All right, this is going to be part 4 of the open pig. We're going to be taking a look at the heart.
Oh, for my man.
So starting off with the heart, when you first see it, it's going to be covered by this thin stuff. That's the pericardium. Right here at the top, it's covered by partially by this little globular thing. I cut part of it. That's my bad. But that's going to be your thymus gland. It's a lymphoid organ, and it's going to secrete and produce T cells, and it helps the immune system, which is good for the pig. From the heart, we obviously have our left atria, which what that's going to do is that's going to receive oxygen-rich blood from the lungs. And we have the right atria, which is going to, it's going to receive the deoxygenated blood. Obviously, we have the left ventricle, and the left ventricle here is going to be the lower left heart chamber, and it's going to take the oxygen-rich blood, and it's going to push it out to the body, while the right ventricle is going to receive the no oxygen blood, and it's going to pump it to the lungs. Right here above the heart, if we want to take a look right in there, you can see that there's this little thing right here. It's this little pink vein. This little pink-looking vein thing, that's going to be your aorta. The aorta is a point, and because it's your main artery, it's going to circulate the oxygen blood to the circulatory system. Pretty important stuff. But right next to it, there's a blue thing. That's going to be your anterior vena cava, which is going to take blood from the head to the head, the anterior part. Obviously, likewise, there's the posterior one, which will be right here under the heart. And it's also blue, and it goes down. That's your posterior one. That's going to go to the lower posterior part of the pig. It's a pig. Right here in the heart, we'll also see the pulmonary artery. And the pulmonary artery is going to carry blood from the ventricle to the lungs, and it's going to oxygenate it. And obviously, we have, where is it? Right here on the side of the heart. All right here, we can see that there's this little vein that's going to go into the posterior vena cava. That little vein right there, that's going to be your pulmonary vein. It's going to carry the oxygen blood from the lungs to the heart. If we look up here at the neck, we're going to see two veins right here. This little pink thing, it's going to be your carotid artery. And it's gonna carry blood from the heart to the head region. And we also have the jugular. And the jugular is going to, be the vein that carries blood from the head and the face to, the circulatory system. Next is going to be the renal artery. So if we take a look here at our kidneys, you can see right here, there's kind of this little focus. There's a little bit of a pink kind of piece of skin going into the kidney, and that's going to be your renal artery or your kidney artery, and it's going to supply blood to the kidney itself. I don't know how I'm supposed to see this or show it, but also I think it's right here. There's this thin line here. I think that's going to be what's the septum, and the septum is going to separate the two ventricles, so that way you don't have, a mixing of blood, which would be bad for the system. And we also have right here, if we take a look at the stomach, there's kind of a pinker vein going into the stomach. That's going to be your gastric artery. It's going to carry blood to the stomach, which is, going to help the pig, live. Same thing with the liver. If we take a look right here at the liver, there's going to be this little pink vein right here that's also going into the liver, and that's going to be the hepatic artery, which is going to carry blood to the liver of the pig. This is going to be lab number 5.
Lab number 5.
We get to look at the breathe. It's to make the pig that goes. It's the piggy breath. It's pig breath. It's the breathing. All right. So when we're taking a look at this pig, it's a little bit. He's been cut open. You could kind of tell that from now. It's been 5 of these, and we're gonna start here. You can see right here at the top, right here, there's this long tube that's going down into the lungs. This long tube, that's going to be your trachea. The trachea is going to be your windpipe. It's what's going to carry all your air down to your lungs. That's like the main part of, the breathing besides the lungs themselves. Then obviously at the top of the trachea, you're going to notice there's it's a little bit thicker here. That's going to be your larynx. It's also known as the voice box, I think. And it's also what's going to have your vocal cords. So it's right here, this is what's going to be making the pig go oink and stuff like that. Because that's his vocal cords are inside the larynx. Obviously, then if we're going to go down, we're going to go into what we're going to see is that all these tubes, so like, you're going to see there's this little tube right here that I'm pointing at, and it's going into the lungs. Now, obviously, there's several of these, and those are going to be your bronchi. That's what's going to lead from the trachea, so it's going to come down the trachea into the bronchi, and that's going to go into the lungs, which are obviously the next thing, and your lungs are going to be these big, big organs, big old organs, and these are going to be what, has the sacs for oxygen to pass into the blood. It's going to oxygenate the blood and remove CO2 from it, and that's going to cause, respiration in the pig. Focus. All right, I kind of had to cut mine, but you can see starting here, there's some of this thin membrane, some of this, thinner membrane, some of it here, it's this flap, it's this thin membrane. So the diaphragm is going to separate the thoracic and abdominal cavities. And obviously it's this, thin stuff right here, and also what's here on top of the thing. It obviously surrounds all this, but I've had to cut mine to look at the pig, and that's going to be your diaphragm. And what that's also going to do is as that moves, it's going to draw air into the chest cavity to help the pig breathe. All right, we're going to do part 6. It's 5 + 1. It's the urogenital system. This is the pee-pee part of the piggy.
Lab number 6.
So when we're starting with our pig, I'm going to... Kidney's gonna, excrete urine. It's gonna from the body. We even have the renal artery and the vein, which is pretty cool to see. And stemming from the kidney, there's this little tube. That's gonna be your ureter. That's the duct that's gonna take the urine from the kidney and take it up to our bladder. Now our bladder is gonna be right here. This is our bladder. It's gonna store urine and it's gonna be removed from the body. I should have mentioned this earlier, but also with the kidney, inside a kidney is gonna look a little something like this. This is the inside of your kidney. You can't really see it that well, but on the outside is a darker color, and that's going to be your cortex. And the inside is a lighter color, and that's going to be your medulla. That's your kidney parts. It's right there. Stemming from the urinary bladder, if we're looking at our urinary bladder, this is right here. That's obviously what's going to store. It's going to store the urine to be removed from the body. And from the urine is going to be the urethra. So the urethra is going to come from somewhere around, it's going to go through, and it's going to come up this tube. This tube is going to be up here. This is our urethra. Urethra is going to carry the urine out of the body, and also sperm in the males. Obviously, the urethra leads to the penis. It's kind of internal, but the urethra leads to that. And obviously, since we do have a male pig, we can see testicles right here. Now, the testes are going to produce sperm in the males. You can see here that they have a little tube, and that's going to be your epididymis. It's going to carry the sperm to the vas deferens and then out the urethra. And there we go. That's male pigs. Hey, I found a female pig, so we're going to go over the female anatomy real quick. When you open up your female pig, you're going to notice that there's this body cavity right in here. And this whole body cavity, that's going to be your uterus. That's where the offspring are, conceived, and they're going to, gestate for, couple months, I think it is. I don't feel like flipping through the packet. Inside the uterus, obviously, we have the cervix, which is going to be right here. You can see there's a little hole there. And the cervix is going to form the lower end of the uterus. And it's also going to lead out to the vagina, which we recently established is right there. Inside there, of course, we can obviously see ovaries too. Ovaries being these little... Inside there, we can obviously see the ovaries, and those are going to be from the female reproductive system. It's going to be what, stores and produce the eggs. And from those, we could also see that there's the oviducts, and that's what's going to pass the egg through the ovaries. And, that's female reproduction. Piggy!